All right, today our workout is called Mary's Meters. So it's a play off of Mary, which is a CrossFit benchmark workout. And then the meters comes from the machine. So it's technically supposed to be a row, but we're going to do whatever we have. So you're going to do a 20-minute AMRAP. There's a bunch of different options today. So 5 handstand push-ups or progressions or 5 push-ups. 10 alternating pistol progressions or changing that to lunges, and then either 15 rows or pull-ups if you have, or changing that to 10 single arm rows per side. The kicker is every 5 minutes starting at 0, we're going to do 2 minutes on your machine. So how that's going to work is you're going to start your first 2 minutes is going to be your benchmark. So let's say on that first 2 minutes I get 500 meters on my rower, then I'm going to just complete 500 meters the next time we come back to that, the next 5 minutes, okay? And that's going to be my standard going through rather than 2 minutes. If I don't have the ability to either have a distance or calories or reps, even if we're doing those non-machine movements, then I'll just do 2 minutes. But if you have the ability, let's find a number, that's your standard, and then that's what you're going to use going forward. So you do your 2 minute machine, and then you'd come and you do your 5 push-ups, 10 lunges, 15 rows, and you'd rotate through them until you're back, until you get that to the 5 minute mark, and then you're back to your machine completing your number and then rotating. So you're gonna, let's say I get through 1 round and 6 pistols, then I'm going to finish those last 4 pistols when I come back, and then go into my single arm rows, okay? And you're going to sort of keep rotating and start where you left off. Hopefully that makes sense. So the movements, I won't go necessarily through a bunch of handstand push-up progressions. If you know and you have those, then go ahead and do that. You can even do kick-ups to the wall, okay? Maybe reduce that number so it's a little quicker. So maybe you do 3 kick-ups, hold for a second and come back, okay, if that's what you're working on, or you're elevating your hands and you're using that as a progression, so we're not going quite the range of motion. Play around with that. Or even if you don't want to do push-ups, you could do strict presses as well, so a heavy strict press, okay? Otherwise, push-ups, we all know that. Sorry, Kitty, you're going to have to move, or maybe not move. So the cat's going to help me. So whatever you're pressing off of, elevated or all the way down to the floor, making sure that you're touching, your hands are just out to your shoulders, you're touching nipple line or below, your elbows are tracking about 45 degrees, and your body's moving all together, okay? So squeeze everything from the belly button down, and then make sure those shoulders are back and down as well. I'm going to say that a lot through this. So shoulders back and down, so we're not in our ears, we're not rotating those shoulders forward, okay? Then pistol progression. So I can't actually do a pistol right now, but a pistol is a single leg squat, okay? So I just pick up 1 leg, and then the squat mechanics are very similar to what you do with 2 legs. You just have to do it all on 1, okay? So it's a pretty hard thing to do. So you go all the way down as deep as you can, and then come back up. So a way to adjust this is to use some sort of elevated surface, and you can just keep building. So if you have weights at home, you can stack those. A good one to use is your stairs, okay? Obviously, you jump a little quicker on stairs, or if you have like a step-up little pad or whatever you have available, play around with it. But you're just going to bring your feet sort of to the edge. You're going to lift off 1 leg, push that butt back first, and then you're just going to tap the heel of the other foot. So the big thing is we don't want to come down and put weight on it and have that use that to come back up. We just want to push that butt back, tap, so we know that's our range, and then back up, and then we go to the other leg, okay? And you just sort of go back and forth with whatever that you have available, okay? If going forward isn't really an option, then just come off to the side of whatever you're using, and you can do all 5 on one side and then switch to 5 on the other side as well, okay? So the higher that you go on this, the more range that you're going to get, and the more progression that you're going to get to the full push-up that you're doing without that, okay? If that's just not in your wheelhouse, or you don't have that available to you, then we can switch this to still lunge. So it's still unilateral movement, so stepping back, tapping that knee, or stepping forward and tapping that knee. So you decide. Focuses on making sure the weight stays mostly in your heels, or toes still stay planted, and we're using the hips first rather than the knee first, okay? Then 15 pull-ups a row. So if you have that available, let's do that. So just making sure our shoulders are back and down, whether we're doing vertical or horizontal, shoulders back and down, and you're pulling with those armpits or those lats rather than rounding your shoulders and pulling with those traps. Okay, so focus on that. Single arm row, lost my dumbbell. So I'd rather, if you don't have a bar or rings, well, let's move to this today. Elbows on that front knee. We're just sort of in a staggered stance, almost like we're doing a lunge. Shoulders back and down, nice flat back, proud chest. Elbow stays tight. You're just going to row more into that belly button and extend. Okay? So you do 10 on one side, then you switch and do 10 on the other side. As far as like difficulty for each of these, we want to be able to get through one full round of all the movements within 2 minutes. Okay, so at least getting one round, maybe 1.5 sort of each time in between our machine. So make it maybe easier than not so we can get that volume in rather than not being able to complete a round within that 2 minutes or even within that 3 minutes. We probably made it a little too hard. So make it a little easier than not. Okay, does that make sense? Your warm-up will be 2 minutes to your machine. Then you're going to do 5 each way shoulder cars. So shoulder cars, what we did this morning is holding on to something. It can be a stick or a band or whatever you have. You're going to be about shoulder height, shoulder width, palms down. And then from here, we're just going to go through all the sort of end ranges of shoulder rotation. So we're going to start by squeezing our shoulders back, depressing our shoulders away from the ears, so squeezing those armpits, and then pressing the shoulders forward, and then bringing the shoulders up into the ears. And then we just want to sort of roll that into a circle rather than a square and go nice and slow, okay? Controlled articular rotations is what CARs stand for. So nice and slow, keeping that core and everything from the base down nice and solid, and just sort of exploring your range of motion, doing 5 one way, and then go ahead and do 5 the other way. This is a little shoulder heavy workout, so I just wanted us to sort of explore our ranges first, get them warm and steady. Okay, once you're done 5 each way of those, if you're using a band, just lighten that up. Hands are sort of in that same position. We're squeezing our armpits and our shoulder blades and pulling that band apart. The elbows can be slightly bent or straight, whatever you want, but you just don't change the angle, okay? We just want to keep that position, so we're using the shoulders and the lats to pull, not our elbows or our biceps. So you're going to do 10 pronated, palms facing down, 10 supinated. Elbows are going to be tucked into those rib cage, and then from here we're just going to open up. Okay, so you might get a little hip pop or a little chest pop. Just don't over exaggerate it. Keep that core engaged as well. So 10 either way. And then if you have a mini band, you can use a mini band for this. You don't have to have one though. You can do it without. So if you do have one, you're going to place it just above or below the knee. You decide, it's not right on the kneecap. You're going to balance on one leg, and then you're going to kick back into extension, making sure that core is engaged so we're not arching that back. Kick back into extension, and then knees come to meet. You're sort of kicking at a 45-degree angle as well and coming back. So you're going to do 10 to 15 per side. So we're just warming up those glutes and those hips. So they are doing as much work as we can with those pistols or those lunges rather than our knees doing the work. Okay, so that standing leg is going to get some work, that kickback leg is going to get some work, so 10 to 15 of those per side. Okay, and then once you're done that, just getting things activated and warmed up, you're going to do 2 half rounds of the movement. So that's 2 to 3 push-ups, about 5, let's just do 6, so 3 per side, pistol or lunges, and then 5 single arm rows if you're doing that, or about 7 or 8 rows or pull-ups if you're doing that. So you'll just do that twice and sort of making it easier for your first round, make it a little harder for your first round, and then seeing if you need to go up or down based on how that felt for the actual workout. Okay? Once you are done your workout, our recovery movements for today are child's pose, or you can change this a little bit too, depending on how you're feeling. So child's pose, starting hands and knees. Knees can be together, or they can be nice and wide. Feet stay together. You're going to reach your hands out in front of you, bring your butt back to your hips as best as you can, and then start with those elbows active, so arms just stay straight, You're going to take a few breaths into that belly here. And then once you do that, you can relax and just hang out. Spend about a minute here total. If this is a little hard on your knee, then just keep your butt more above the knee rather than coming back to the hips. So you can do that same thing. And then once you're done that, bringing those knees back together if they're apart, you're going to bring that right knee to the right hand. And then just walk that back leg back as much as you can for as much stretch as you can, holding pigeon on one side for about a minute. I suggest making or bringing something, if this is a little intense, bringing something underneath that front hip so you can let your body relax and it can sink into this rather than it being so tense on one side. Okay, and then switch to the other side. If that's not good for your knee, alternate option is to bring ankle on top of the knee, grab behind the legs, and pull it up. Okay, we're just looking for a little stretch to the outer hip, and then depending on if we can, a little front hip stretcher as well. Hopefully that goes okay, but let me know and have fun with it.